How can I make one big step towards the direction of my goal? How can I get closer to my goal? And once I reach the goal, I would set another goal. And that's what I still do, because once you reach a big goal, you realize, oh, wait, it's not about the goal. It's about the person you become.
Axel Schura, so good to have you on the show, brother. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Where are you connecting from? What part of the world?
Prague, Europe. I just came from Bali. Actually, we could have done this in person, I just realized. I was in LA for a month and then went to Bali, which is kind of like my second home, maybe even my first home. And then I came to Prague. I have a couple of events, retreats this summer. So that's where I'm right now.
Two locations I've been dying to go to, both Bali and Prague. Haven't gotten there yet. So nonetheless, super excited to connect with you. You and I have been online friends for quite a while, actually, really since I went plant-based 3 years ago. And we've done some Instagram lives together, and really excited to have you on the show because you have such a incredible backstory with your entrepreneurship, with your health and your fitness. And I just have always admired your energy, your mindset, and the positive impact that you're making in the world. So for the listeners and the audience, Axel Schura is an entrepreneur and a performance and business coach. He does a lot of different stuff. Like, as you guys just heard, he has some retreats going on. He has coaching programs, membership programs. And I thought it'd be really cool. You and I talked offline about an influential figure that we share. We actually share a number, and we'll probably talk about them. But let's talk about that particular audio with Bob Proctor that kind of transformed your life.
Yeah. So there are multiple audios, multiple podcasts, YouTube videos that from Bob Proctor that have shaped my life. And some of his quotes are like mantras that I keep repeating. They're like part of my subconscious mind, like thoughts become things. I'm actually rereading the book. I've probably read it 5 or 6 times. I will forever remember this one particular video. It's called Turn Your Yearly Income into Your Monthly Income. And I remember listening to this back when I just started, my business and started being an entrepreneur. And it felt so unrealistic, but somehow I started to believe that it's possible. And I also remember how he said, set the goal. You don't have to know how to get there right now. The how is not your job. Your job is to be in the right energy. Your job is to focus on what you want and repeating that you will get there, that you believe in it. And I remember also repeating his affirmations. I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. And I went to this YouTube video, and you can go through the comments, and it's like people posting like, this stuff really works. I was like, yeah, kind of does. So I'm going to give it a shot. And now it's something that until now, it's part of my morning routine, my meditation. I keep repeating, I'm so happy and grateful now. And then whatever my goal is. But looking back, this goal, turning my yearly income back then into my monthly income, happened way faster than I thought it would. And now it's funny. I don't know if you can relate, but when you scale your income or you scale your business, what felt impossible for me a couple of years ago is now my normal. And I don't even realize it doesn't feel special anymore. It doesn't mean that I'm not grateful, but this, I think my yearly income back then was like the average salary, something around 30,000 euro. And now if I make that in a month, it feels completely normal.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have different goals. of turning my yearly income again into my monthly income. So yeah, that's that guy, Bob Proctor. Unfortunately, or I don't know, like what the reason was, but he passed away last year, and that was one of the people I've never met, but he passed away, and I was just really grateful for his soul, and I wish I could have told him in person how much of an impact he had on me and my life.
I remember the audio program that I listened to from him, and it's called The Science of Getting Rich. And I listened to that audio program, I don't know, probably half a dozen or even a dozen times, like as I was driving around in one of my previous careers for work. And it's so funny you bring up that affirmation, because I've used that same affirmation for years. And funny enough, I actually had that as one of my affirmations, and one of my past morning routines that I did for almost, I don't know, 2 or 3 years straight, is I read out that affirmation as well as a bunch of other ones, like, and recorded it. And every morning I'd wake up and I'd literally like put in my headphones and hit play.
Yeah.
And like I would listen through my own self telling myself these things, like at least 2 or 3 times before I even started the day. Like as I was like washing my face and brushing my teeth and making my morning matcha. And it always seems so silly sometimes when like I share with clients or friends or family, like, yeah, I do these affirmations, I do these mantras, and like sometimes it takes a few years for them to come true. Sometimes it happens in a month or two, but like it's incredible how powerful the mind and the spirit and the power of our own voice affirming something, like you can literally like transform your life. And, you know, you and I share a similar past. Like I never thought I'd reach the, financial level that I've reached. I've always dreamed of it, but now it's like, wow, I got here. Where could I go? And I love that you really pushed yourself to like continuously think bigger. So let's go back to the beginning of kind of your entrepreneurial journey. So I know you were kind of in the corporate world, and you decided to take a big risk and leave that traditional path to go seek a path that was a lot more fulfilling. So take us back and kind of share some of that story with us.
Yeah, so I wanted to become a teacher. I always loved teaching. I always loved being the leader of the football team and everything. But I had a difficult childhood. I had a father who was abusive and an alcoholic, and I wanted to study, but in Germany it's kind of like, you study, but you get enough, but you can't really like move to like a different city unless you have parents who support you, or you work 2 or 3 jobs and you make it happen. So my intention was, what is the quickest way for me to make money, good money, and get the heck out of here? So I Googled and Google told me, well, you should work in the finance industry. I was like, okay, well, then I'm going to do that. So that's exactly what I did. I worked for a big insurance company. I moved out from home when I was, not sure if it was 17 or 18, but pretty young. And my life got so much better just moving away from this toxic environment. Living with an alcoholic is awful. And in general, living with people who just have a, lack mentality and complaining and blah, blah, blah. So I said, screw it. I'm going to move away. And that's exactly what I did. And I enjoyed, I even enjoyed the work. I enjoyed learning about sales. I enjoyed learning about insurances and things of that nature. But after 2 years, when I had the contract in front of me, and you have to understand, I grew. I was born and raised in Germany. I'm still really fortunate to have the German passport that enables you to visit so many places. You I grew up in a safe country, but we never had it. Like, we never had money. Like, we could not buy clothes, or my parents were immigrants from Uzbekistan, so simple living conditions. I wouldn't call it poor, but just really basic. So then I was in this job, and all of a sudden I could buy myself fancy things. All of a sudden I could choose a car to drive, and it was like my dream car. I always wanted to drive in, I don't know why, an Audi, black Audi S5, and then I could choose it. And I was like, now that I have it, I feel so empty inside. Now that I've achieved what I thought will bring me satisfaction, money, car, a safe job, I was just feeling so lost. And like, it was like not lost is not the right word, so confused that all of the things I dreamt of that would make me happy didn't make me happy. So I was, what the heck? During that time period, I started reading books, I started self-development, I started meditating because of someone I followed on social media. And I remember reading this particular book, The 4-Hour Workweek, you will know it, by Tim Ferriss. And he was talking about Thailand and, this life of being a digital nomad and traveling and doing your own thing. And I was like, that sounds good. Why am I not just traveling for a bit and just finding myself and figuring out what I want to do? So I said, you know what? Screw it, let's do it. I sold everything I had, probably one of the best things I've ever done. I sold furniture. I sold literally everything. Everything I owned, I could basically put into a backpack. I still have this red backpack, if you ever see it on social media. Red backpack. Everything I owned was like literally part of this backpack. And I bought a one-way ticket to Thailand and just traveled for a while to kind of figure out who I truly am.
I love that. Couple questions. What age did you leave the corporate world? And what age are you now? Because I want to help the audience kind of understand this trajectory that you've gone through.
Yeah, so I'm 27 now. I'm turning 28 pretty soon. And that was 2017, I think, either 2016 or 2017. So that is 6 years ago. So 21, I would say, 21, 22. I think it was 21, but yeah, in my early 20s.
Gotcha. And how did you actually, so you read, 4-Hour Workweek, you're like, okay, I got the car and I thought it was going to make me happy, but I feel empty. Doesn't really make me happy. How did you get up the courage to actually like leave that safe, career that you had?
There is this particular part of the book where he speaks about that there will never ever be the right time. The right time is always now. The traffic lights of life, I think he calls it, they will never ever be green at the same time. The stars will never ever perfectly align. There will always be a better time in your head, but the best time to do it is now. And I was like, dang it, I gotta do it now. It was for the first time of my life I was connected to my intuition, this strong gut feeling inside of me. And I was scared. I remember sitting in my car in front of the office. I told my former boss, I told him like, hey, I would like to speak to you. And it was my day off. So he already kind of knew like, oh, damn it. What's happening? He's coming to work on his day off and wants to speak to me. So I was sitting in the car and I was sitting there for like 30, 40 minutes. And I was just so scared of what they would say. But at some point I was like, okay, again, I'm going to do it anyways. I know I will do it. So what the heck are you waiting for? Went into the office. I was so nervous. Went into, the room, spoke to him. He was disappointed. Really disappointed. That was basically what I was afraid of. But I felt so good. I went out of it. I was like, I feel so good. I'm so proud of myself. And this feels like the right, when you make a decision and your whole body just tells you, this is the right thing. Even though they were disappointed and I cared about them. But at the same time, I was just so happy with the fact that I did it anyway. That I was not a people pleaser in that moment.
How long were you at that company before you left?
2.5 years.
Okay. And who was the person that you were following online that kind of inspired you to start meditating and reading books?
Yeah, his name is Misha Yanets.
Oh, yeah.
Sure if you know him?
Yeah, he
you
was
know, of course.
the Game Changers, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So him and Nimai actually were the two people who inspired me to go plant-based. I watched that video or that documentary, which is an excellent documentary on Netflix. I think it's actually one of the
100%.
most viewed documentaries of all time. But up until that point, I was like, I could never go vegan or plant-based. Like I would lose my muscle. And I watched that documentary and I was like, what the fuck? Like, okay, if they can do it, let me give it a shot. And it's, been one of the best decisions of my life. So that's awesome that it was Misha who inspired you. All right. So you go off to Asia or Thailand, right?
Yeah, Wyland was right. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you start like? Are you making any money? Like, how do you actually go from having a safe job, a reliable income to like, okay, great. Now I'm literally just spending the money that I've accumulated and I sold all my stuff, and walk us through how you went from kind of just being a nomad to actually starting to become a entrepreneur.
Yeah, sure. So I went to Thailand. I had no idea what I was doing, honestly. I was just like, I'm just going to go. I booked a hotel for 2 nights and then just, embrace the uncertainty. I wasn't making any money. I was just living off my savings and I sold my stuff. So they gave me enough time for, I think it was, I'm not sure how long it was, but it gave me it gave me a safety net. I knew like I'm going to be fine. And the worst thing that can happen at some point, I'm running out of money and I don't know, go to Australia and get a work visa and work there, or I go back to Germany and work for a bit and then I'll figure it out. So I wasn't really afraid of that. And honestly, selling all of my things was just so freeing. And until now, that really helps me, because during that time in Thailand and then I went to different countries, I was just so happy. And I realized like I'm so much happier now without the stuff than I was with the stuff. So the stuff doesn't make me happy. It can help. I'm not saying that money can't buy happiness. I always say those who say money can't buy happiness haven't given away enough. And there's so many beautiful things you need money for. I love money, but I also know I can be happy without it. I can be happy without anything. I don't need any stuff. I don't need a watch. I don't need a car. I can have it as like a nice to have, but my happiness and my own self-worth and my confidence doesn't depend on it. So getting back to your question, honestly, I had no idea. I was just following my intuition, and during the process, I remember going to India. So I traveled through Thailand and Cambodia, and I'm probably going to miss a couple of places, Cambodia, Vietnam. And I was just enjoying life, honestly. I was just seeing amazing places, meeting amazing people. Like, I've never left my bubble before. That was the first time that I ever went to Asia. And, I met people who have like online business. It was like, what the heck is an online business? I was born and raised in a small freaking village in the middle of nowhere in Germany. So I was never exposed to any of this. That obviously gave me ideas. I already had a certification in as a coach, just because I was really into fitness and health already since I was a teenager. And while I was working at the insurance company, I did a training as a coach, and I had no intentions of actually, or like no specific plan of using it. I've coached some people just for free, no friends that I just wanted to help. I was like, I enjoy helping you, so I'm just going to help you. Just come with me, train with me, and see your life change. But I didn't even know that coaching was a thing. So I remember volunteering at the school in India, and I did a little fundraiser on social media, on Facebook. I asked people for donations because I went back to Europe for a couple of weeks, and I thought, you know what, I have luggage, like a carry-on luggage, and how do you call it? Like luggage you basically give to the like a big suitcase. Check-in luggage, there you go. Check-in luggage. So I have check-in luggage, but my backpack, I can just use as carry-on. So I took the carry-on luggage and asked for donations for the kids that at the school where I was volunteering at. And so many people reached out, and I remember driving to all of the people, and they were so grateful to give, and I was so grateful that they gave. And then I brought all of this to the kids, and they were so happy. And I was like, oh my gosh, this social media thing, that feels really nice. That's so dope. And obviously, I already had Misha as a role model, so I kind of knew, there you can make a living from social media. And at some point, I just said, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do it as well. So my plan was kind of to promote healthy lifestyle choices, to build a community around that, and just serve them and make their lives better. And that was kind of my purpose for a while. And that's basically what I did for a couple of years without even making it a business. I was just helping people. I was just putting out podcasts, videos, everything. I studied everything. I would spend hours just replying to text messages or not text messages, but comments under big platforms. I would just help people and help and help and help. I obviously read a lot of books while traveling, and one of the advices that I will forever remember is from Tony Robbins. He said, choose a profitable niche and become one of the most valuable people in that niche, and you will dominate. And I was like, sure, I can do that. Who's the most valuable person in that niche? What are they doing? How many times are they posting? What else are they doing? And how can I do 10% more than they do? And I did that. And I think because of that, I was able to achieve a lot in a really short amount of time. But I also worked a lot. At some point, I went back to Europe. I had 2 jobs. So I started training people as a personal trainer, but I remember being the delivery guy for mail. There's probably a better word to describe that, but basically I was delivering mail from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then I would work from 2 p.m. until about 10 p.m. on my business, on my side business, building social media. And I didn't start working with companies, but that's basically when it started. And then over the years, I built an audience on several platforms. I started working with different brands. I did a little bit of coaching, but never really super professionally in terms of I actually built a business. It was more, sometimes there, sometimes then. I did other things as well that excited me, like shooting a documentary together with national TV in Austria. And then at some point, and we're talking about years, I actually decided, you know what, the reason why the thing that excites me the most is helping people, is coaching. And that's basically where I am right now. It's mainly a coaching business, but as you mentioned in the beginning, I'm doing so many things, and I'm one of the people who have many different interests, and I see that as a strength. And that's basically where I am right now. obviously it feels like this happened in a couple of months, but it was years and years of, progress, always one step in, I was always just looking, how can I get a bit further? How can I make one big step towards the direction of my goal? How can I get closer to my goal? And once I reach the goal, I would set another goal. And that's what I still do, because once you reach a big goal, you realize, oh wait, it's not about the goal, it's about the person you become during the achievement, during getting there. Because once you've reached the goal is not special to you anymore. It's like you get the dopamine rush, but then it's your baseline. Then it's normal. And I think the reason why we are able to talk now, with podcasts and cameras, is because we are here to grow. The reason why we don't have this conversation in a cave without clothes on is because we choose to grow. That's one of our basic needs, and I followed that needs since then. And I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. One of the things I really like to kind of like pull apart for the audience is a lot of times, I'm sure people kind of like think you're like an overnight success, like, like you've always been like this. And they don't realize like how many like years and like months where you were like a mailman / courier, so like delivering packages while, for part of a 24-hour period. And then the other part of the period, you were like working on your entrepreneurship, your side hustles. And like, it wasn't necessarily generating much, if any, money in the beginning, but like, I'm curious, like how long were you delivering mail before you like were able to go full time into the coaching and the online business?
I did that probably for like 4 or 5 months, because again, like I didn't have much. I didn't need much. I knew like I could live off like, I don't know, 500-600 euros. That's pretty much $500-600 per month. Especially when traveling. So I didn't need a lot, but yeah, that was probably 5-6 months. I would like to add something to what you just mentioned, because it's an important point. I also have friends who talk about, I only work 2-3 hours a week, and that works. That's probably possible. I could do it right now. Like, I'm at a point with my business. We have automated income. I could do that. But I think it's so important, especially for beginners, to realize those people, in most cases, I don't say that there are not exceptions, they got there because they worked incredibly hard at something they loved. They don't see, I have this one particular friend. She now works 3-4 hours, has a 6-figure coaching business, and she shares that, like, hey, I'm working only a couple of hours, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's also people who need to hear that, and even know the possibility. But I think people could get confused that, oh, I'm working 2 hours and I'm not getting there. Yeah, you will obviously, if you work more, you will obviously get closer to, or faster to that goal. Not saying you shouldn't rest or anything, and probably what I did wasn't the best idea neither. But hard work is really important. And I don't think that hard work necessarily means that it's suffering or you are in a bad state. I just mean, I do CrossFit, or when I go to the gym, I work hard. But it's fun because I love it and I choose to do it. And working on your relationship is sometimes hard work, but it's fulfilling. Working on yourself is sometimes hard. Taking a cold shower, ice bath, every single freaking morning I do this. It's hard, but I love it. I love the feeling afterwards. So thank you so much for mentioning that. Yeah, I was no overnight success. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of long hours, 2 different jobs. And at some point I, just went from level to level to level. At some point I was like, okay, I actually want to do something online. So I started a virtual assistant business. I was a virtual assistant for someone, one of the best decisions I've ever made, for someone who was already successful in the coaching industry. So I got paid while learning so much. I was like, I should pay you guys for what I learned. And actually, we now we are really good friends. And I did that for a while until I said, you know what, I'm making enough from working with brands, from coaching, that I can, say goodbye to this and work on my own things. And I work with different companies. Like, it just went from level to level. That's probably the biggest point. And I didn't think too much of how will I get there and how will this work out. I started trusting in my ability to figure things out, to find a solution. And that's something that gives me confidence. Yeah, like even now, I just trust in my ability to figure things out. I completely trust in my ability to find a solution for every single problem there is in the world. And if I don't have the solution, someone else will have it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple things I just want to double down on and build upon. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people think that passive income is like something that like you just stumble on the right thing and it's passive, and they don't recognize that like any passive income source, at least in the beginning, is a shit ton of work, like massive amounts of upfront work before it gets to the point where you can just do it for 2 to 3 hours a few times a week. Like there are like hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours poured into building up the infrastructure, the architecture, the automations, the teams, everything. And then you get to like treat it more passively. But there's always this like formulation period that, like, depending on what the particular income source is, takes a lot of time and energy, some much more than others. But I truly believe that like passive income is kind of a misleading word for anything, because like it's definitely not passive in the beginning. You can get it to a point where it's like fairly, hands off, but like that is a lot longer after you've put in an incredible amount of time and energy. So I love that you point that out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's also, the time to develop the skill. It probably took you a while. The time to develop the mindset, that also has obviously big influence. I hope I said automated income. I agree with you. I mean, there is passive income, but I agree with you that it can sound confusing to people. I try to use the term automated income because I think that describes it a bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, I would actually agree. That's a really great way to kind of frame it, because like any automation, you have to like build the infrastructure to like perform the automation. So I really love that. The other thing that you really place an emphasis on that I think is important for people to recognize is the incremental improvement or incremental growth that you have focused on achieving really over the last 6 or 7 years. It's like you were not, an overnight success, but you just focused on doing like taking the next step on your growth journey. Like you didn't necessarily see the like entire path or map to get there. You're like, okay, what do I do next to get to that next level? Even if it's just one step above of where I'm at. And you just focused on that and trusted in yourself that you would figure out like each step of the way how to get to the next step, instead of worrying like, well, I don't know how I'm going to get to the end point. You're just like, no, I'm just going to keep taking steps and figure out each step. And I'm curious, where did that sense of trusting your intuition and trusting yourself to be able to figure it out come from? Like, is that something you've always had?
Brilliant question. Phenomenal question. Honestly, from the gym. I already mastered that part of my life, and I knew I would set a goal. Like I remember setting the goal. I want to bench press 100 kg. That is, I think, 220 pounds. Yeah, around that, 220 pounds, I think. And I remember going to the gym, and I started with an empty barbell. So I knew I have this goal. And the guy, the gym owner, he was someone who bench pressed more than 100 kg. He told me, listen, this is our goal. And now we're going to set mini goals. Every single time you come to the gym, you try to add a little bit more weight. And I would train like 2-3 times. Obviously, you had a proper training, like a training split. But basically, I bench pressed every week, and every week I would just add a little bit of weight. I didn't try to bench press immediately 80 kg. I started with an empty barbell, a little bit of weight, a little bit more, a little bit more. Obviously, I ate enough and made sure everything else is supporting my goal as well. But instead of just worrying that I will get there, I was just, every single time I entered the gym, I set the intention, I want to get a little bit better today. And it didn't work out every single time I went to the gym, but most times it worked out. And I used this lesson from the gym in my private life and business life until today. I set one big goal, and then I focus on getting a bit better every single day, getting a bit closer every single day, making one step as big as possible, but not overstretching myself, so that I get closer to that goal. It's called progressive overload. And in the gym, it's helpful. In business life, it's helpful. And it helps me to stay out of my head and stay in my heart and just focus on the thing in front, instead of overthinking everything and waiting for the perfect moment and waiting for the perfect person to show up to support you and all of this. I'm an action taker, and to answer your question, the gym taught me a lot. I think gym and fitness can give you so many, if you master that area, you can take so many lessons from it, learn so many lessons from it, progressive overload, muscle memory. Like there's so many lessons that I learned from just going to the gym. Looking back, going to the coach and asking him for advice was one of the smartest things I could have done. There are people who have already achieved what you are trying to achieve. If you are able to learn from them, you can save years, if not decades. And in business, in your personal life, it's the same thing. Like, surround yourself with people who have achieved what you are trying to achieve, and you will save so much time, energy, pain, money, and that would be another thing.
Yeah. Coaching and, internships and working for free for the with the people that are doing what I want to do, it's literally the, main ingredient to my own success, right? Like, I just was sharing online the other day, like, I didn't get abs until I was 32, and I tried for 15 years to try to figure out how to do it myself. And then I worked with an online fitness coach, and I got abs in 6 months. And I was like, why the hell did I wait for 15 years to because I was smart, right? And I'm so smart, I can figure this out myself. And then I invest in a coach, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, done. And I love that you pointed out a couple things, that you basically worked as a virtual assistant for someone who is a super successful coach. So you got paid to learn, but you've also invested in your own coaching. Like, I know, as well as like dozens of workshops. And so you kind of do it all. You read books, you go to workshops, you get coaching. And you and I both, like, we're huge fans of Tony Robbins, right? And Tony Robbins, like, one of the things that, like, he always points out, and, this is one of the things I learned when I was very young, but it took me a long time to implement, is like, through, it's the name of your podcast, role model. Like, you can literally learn how to do anything and save massive amounts of time and money if you just find the right role model, whether that's working for them, whether that's like getting coaching from them, whether that's just like following them online and consuming their content. And so I love that you're not shy about that at all.
So funny that you mentioned Tony Robbins, because I'm actually going to one of his events this summer, and I think in about a month from now. I just booked it yesterday, and I'm so happy about it.
Which event is it?
Say again?
Which event?
UPW?
Unleash the Power Within. Yeah, I did that. I did that like the summer, like a summer or two before I launched my podcast and my coaching program. And it was just like one of those things that, really unleashed me. So this is actually a really perfect segue into the next piece that I wanted you to talk about. I actually know that you plan to go to Unleash the Power Within like a couple years ago, but then you had a health challenge come up, right?
Yeah. So, it was actually in, it was in close to Miami. That's where he lives, right? And in Florida. It was in Florida. So I was planning to travel from Europe to Florida, but I had something. My mentor and my therapist, they always tell me, hey, call it your teacher, not a disease. So I had a teacher coming into my life, and it's something most people have never heard of. It's called Burkitt. And it's a really rare but aggressive form of cancer, and that's prevented me from going there. It was really confusing. It came out of the blue. I was a really healthy person, into fitness and eating healthy, and at some point I just started having really strong back pain and things of that nature. Not only just back pain, and I went to the hospital just because of back pain, and it got worse and worse, and then they told me, we don't think it's back pain. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's back pain. It turned out it was this really rare form of cancer. No one really knows where it comes from. Some people, there's this thing called Epstein-Barr virus that basically almost everyone has. But apparently these are the only guesses. It can turn into something else. That's all I ever learned. I never fully understood why. I have my own guesses, but that's probably not valuable. And then I spent months and months in a hospital. I lost 30 kg. What's that? 60, 70 something pounds. In a couple of months, I lost my ability to walk. I got to go through chemo that basically saved my life. And don't want to get a mood shift here, because I was really enjoying it. Looking back, it's also I don't see it as a bad thing necessarily anymore, because it's I'm 27, and I have this unique perspective on life that most people only get once they reach maybe their 70s, 80s. I was so close to death. I know what it feels like to look death straight into the eyes. I was like right on the edge. Like no one knew if I was gonna make it. I remember the doctors my partner Mariana, she remembers. The doctors told her, call his family, he won't make it longer than 5 days. Back then, I was on the drugs, so I don't remember much, but I remember saying to them, like, why are you so serious? Why are you pretending that I'm gonna die? Like Mari, my partner later told me like all of those stories. I was like, dang it. That's why they were so serious, because it was really serious. Looking back, it gave me this unique perspective on life, that time is really limited. I know what it feels like to face death. And even though I was living my dream, I had regrets. One of my biggest regrets was not being present when I'm at the beach. I'm thinking sometimes, especially in the past, it became less, but sometimes I'm at the beach and I think about work, and then when I'm at work, I think about the beach, kind of not being 100, not really squeezing and not really like appreciating the moment and like being on your phone and this and that. I was like, dang it, I wish I would have tasted life more. And I'm not saying like, you know, like bigger things, bigger travels, blah, blah, blah. No, like really those little moments, I missed them so much. I took them for granted. I took it for granted to be able to hug someone, to be able to go outside and touch a freaking tree. You know, I was inside for months and months and months. And now I'm happier than before. I'm less stressed about things. Doesn't mean that I don't have bad moments. I still have them. And sometimes I think and worry about stupid stuff that will never, ever matter or ever happen. And sometimes I'm also honestly just scared of death. Like, I love life so much. And that is obviously something that I had to get comfortable with. You know, it can be over any single time. And with the specific thing, Burkitt, it's not that you have weeks and months to prepare, you know, it's like all of a sudden. But since I had so much time thinking about it, it's like, hey, you know what? Actually, that's the same freaking thing for everyone. We all have this illusion that life will continue forever. We think we're going to live a long life. And I also think that. I choose to believe that. I choose to believe that technology will be so advanced that we can live until 150, 200, definitely. At the same time, the point that I'm trying to make is we all are living as if we would be here forever, but it's not the case, at least in this body, you know? Time is limited and no one knows when it's going to be over for you. It could be tomorrow, it could be in 50 years, it could be in 150. We all don't know, so I can find this beauty in, you know, the fact that time is limited. And it gives me a sense of urgency, a beautiful sense of urgency, to not postpone the important things, to make time for the people I love. That's like, if you read the book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, that's something you will hear over and over again. Quality relationships. That's all that mattered. During that moment, I would have given away all of my money, followers, community, businesses. I would have said everything. Take it, just make me healthy. Take it, just give me the ability back to walk out, kiss my girlfriend, and have a good meal.
What do you attribute your healing and recovery to? Like, how did you come back from this?
I think my mindset definitely helped. I'm an optimist, and I told them, like, the doctors told me later, like I told them from the early beginning, it was like, there's no freaking way I'm not going to make it. Just not going to happen. I don't care the statistics, even though the statistics were quite promising. It was like 90% of it make it. I was like, of course I'm going to be the 90%. There's no fucking doubt I'm not going to be there. And every single day, there was a time I could not walk anymore. Every single day, I said, I'm going to do once. I started with seconds of just standing. I had 2 people around me lifting me up, and I was 1 second at a time. And at some point, I could make a step forward with like a, you know, machine. You put your hands around it. There's a video on it on my Instagram of this. I would walk with this machine, and I would do 10 meters, and the next day I would do 15. And fortunately, I have such a beautiful brother. He's one of the most incredible souls. He went through the whole freaking process with me. I hope he's listening right now. I love him. And he would write down a list of goals on there was a flip chart in my hospital room. And he would there, like, I didn't feel like walking. That was the last thing. I felt like I was tired. I was feeling like shit. But he said, we're going to do those meters. You're going to be happy about it. You come back, you rest. And we did that every single day. And at some point, I could walk without this thing. Then I had to learn how to take stairs. Can you imagine? A couple of months before, I was able to squat 150 kg without a problem, deadlift 200 kg. And I have to learn how to take steps on like just walking up the stairs. They were so unbelievably difficult. And I just said one step at a time. My ego was gone. I didn't care about what other people think. I was just like, I gotta do one step more today. There's no excuse that I'm gonna make in the world. I just have to do it. And I think that helped, obviously. Eating a lot of whole foods helped, probably. I also like the whole process. I didn't lose my appetite, and I got a high doses of chemo. I didn't lose my appetite. I definitely had some complications. I got COVID twice. But other than that, mate, that's a year. Wait, it's May, a year and a month ago. So much is possible in a year. But, people underestimate what they can achieve in a day, what they can achieve in a week, but completely forget what's possible in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. If you just get clear on what you want, one step at a time, progress over perfection.
Yeah. And like, just for the audience context, like those who are just listening, like Axel looks super healthy and vibrant. And, I've been following you really since the beginning of 2020. And I watched you, I reached out to you when you were going through this, and like literally you were like, you look like you were about to die, like lost all your hair. You literally lost like 66 pounds of body weight, and like you look completely emaciated, like just 1 year ago. And now I feel like you look stronger, healthier, and more vibrant than I've ever seen you since I started following you. Yeah. Like I feel like you're like more muscular, you're stronger than you were prior to all of this. And
I'm hating less weight, definitely. I think I'm the happiest. That's the most important thing. Yeah. I'm not stronger in terms of like weight at the gym, just because my priorities shifted a bit. Mm-hmm. I'm still super strong. I'm still doing more than 100 kg on the bench and things of that nature. But it's not that I'm spending hours and hours every day at the gym like I did before. I'm just not putting in that big amount of time anymore, just because I have other priorities now. I'm just working out because it's fun. It's something that gives me mental peace. It's good for my physical health. So I train like 45. I literally did a workout before this. It took me 45 minutes.
Yeah. So I'm going to do a little bit of a hard left turn, just because I know we're going to wrap this up in a minute. But what do you think people get wrong about money and mindset?
Okay, I have seven minutes left before my mother-in-law picks me up. But what do they get wrong about? Let me ask a different question. What did I get wrong about it for a long time? And I grew up with a lot of scarcity around money, and that's maybe one point. That your relationship with money, your money beliefs, your money conditioning has a direct impact on how much money you have, how much money you make. So working on that unleashes so much potential. The next thing would be, since we didn't have money, it was really easy to say that those who have money are bad people. So understanding now that money is neutral, money doesn't have, like take a good person, give them $1 million. Do you really think this good person turns into a bad person all of a sudden just because she is a millionaire? No, of course not. It's just someone with a lot of resources all of a sudden. And someone who did good before will do more good with money. So understanding that money is neutral, you decide whether you use it for good things, for bad things. It's completely up to you. It has no freaking meaning until you decide which meaning you give. And just reprogramming that conditioning is probably something that I had to do and many people still have to do. The money is such a beautiful tool, and everyone, I believe everyone deserves unlimited amounts of money. And I think in terms of availability to the public, it has never been easy. I don't say, it's easy for me to say, grew up in Germany. I get it. But nowadays, everyone has access to the internet. And I know so many people, I went to those places. I've been to India, Bangladesh. We built a school there. I know that it's possible for people. If someone has done it with worse circumstances and less talent than you have, it's possible for you. Money is capable of making such beautiful things. And if you focus on that, you will attract more of it. Your brain is wired to avoid pain and to generate pleasure. And if money is a painful topic to you, and let's be honest, that's the case for most people. That's why you don't know how much your parents make or your neighbors, because no one talks about those things. Because it's painful. You want to avoid it. It's so much easier to just say, oh, the people who are rich, they are doing something shady. The people who are rich, they are bad people. It's easy for you to say if you don't have any. It was also for me. It was so much easier. Now that I have it, I know, I completely got it wrong. Yeah.
In closing, I want to ask you one tip, tool, or strategy for taking your fitness to the next level, and one for taking your life to the next level. And then we'll shut this down.
Listen, fitness, go find a workout buddy who is 30% fitter than you and train with that person.
I love that.
If you find someone who's 200% fitter than you, even better.
And how about life?
How about life? I would say get clarity on what you are trying to achieve. Find someone who has already achieved it and get in their energy. If you can, hire them as a coach, as a mentor. If you don't have money as a resource, work for them for free. Get in their energy, learn from them, buy books from those people. Take advantage that, we have podcasts, we have books. You can get knowledge, you can get years of experience summarized in a book for about $20-$30, and people don't take advantage of that. For me, that's mind-blowing. So success leaves clues. Study successful people, study happy people. If you want to become happy, if you want to become fit, study fit people. That would be probably my advice for life.
I love it. Any last words of wisdom, requests from the audience, or anything else that you'd like to say?
Yeah, sure. If you listen to this podcast, come say hi on Instagram. Axel Schura. We try our best to answer all questions and just connect with the people behind the podcast. I want to connect with people who are listening to this stuff because I know they're incredible people. It's like the 1% of the population who, works on themselves. So come say hi. I'm sure someone will respond, either me or my assistant. But yeah, you will if you enjoyed today's episode, this podcast, you will for sure enjoy our content that we share with the world.
Awesome. Yeah. And Axel's got a great podcast called Role Model. He has plenty of presence on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube channel. He's a vlogger. He does a lot of different things. You all can tell just how good his energy is. And, now hearing his story, that life hasn't always been easy for him. He's faced some pretty big challenges, both with his childhood, took a leap of faith and bet on himself. And even when he thought he had everything going good, the universe decided to place a challenge in front of him and see how he would handle it. And I'm just super grateful that you made it through and that you are happier and healthier than ever. And I really appreciate your time and your energy and the wisdom that you shared with us today. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Thank you so much for giving me the space. Thank you for your time. Beautiful, incredible questions. And thank you for creating, such a great place for people to give them a chance to educate themselves and, improve their lives. I can feel your passion. You're someone, whenever I listen, watch your content, it's always good energy. It's always, nice. It's always a safe space. I know I could potentially watch it early in the morning and I would get a good vibe, a good feeling. So thank you, Justin, for your time, for your energy, and thanks for everyone who will listen to that conversation.
Awesome. And we'll definitely have you back because there's I have a million notes of things we didn't cover. So we'll have you back on the show in the future.
I don't want to disappoint my mother-in-law. She has priority, Justin.
Of course. Family first, right?
Exactly.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming on the show, brother.